A woke journalist, I guess you can call it a journalist, went after Pat McAfee. He's a blogger boy. He's a blogger boy with The Athletic. His name is Devin Gordon. And listen to this. Now, normally if somebody goes after Pat McAfee, we don't get too excited about it. But this guy went all he's bad for journalism. Huh? He's bad for sports journalism. He's a threat to sports journalism. He's a clown, they said, because of his posse to sports journalism. I got to tell you, if you're going to go after somebody for all this, the guy sitting right over here still in Indy, Greg Doyle, is your perfect guy. But Greg's a liberal. We don't go after him. Pat lets Aaron Rodgers on his show, so we go after him. And that's one of the things this guy, Devin Gordon, went after Pat McAfee for. He went after Pat McAfee for the camaraderie of his crew. Well, let me explain that real quick. Pat lives right over here. He lives in a little compound with Bob Kavoyan. Now, you may not know who Bob Kavoyan is, but if I said the name Bob and Tom radio show, you would probably know. Well, Bob Kavoyan is the Bob in the Bob and Tom radio show, which has been basically the number one morning show all across the country for about 30 years now. They live right over here in the compound, and one of the things that Pat did was base his style off Bob and Tom, and that style is to have others there. Others like Chick McGee. You know, he's got Boston Connor. I mean, look, it is a style that works beautifully for Bob and Tom in the morning and Pat McAfee in the afternoon, but he does not like that. He's crying about McAfee calling out his boss, who, oh, by the way, Norby Williamson, who, oh, by the way, needed to be called out. When he calls out a lady named Stephanie Drewley or a DEI dude named Mike Roberts, now we really got a story because, well, he should. Anyway, and according to this gas bag, he had the audacity to bring Aaron Rodgers on the show. Now, this is just another example of you don't think like I think. You're doing something unusual, so we must get mad. You know, I say it all the time on this show. Our most tolerant, well, they don't seem to be tolerant. They seem to be intolerant. In fact, they seem to be angry intolerant always. Now, you and I both know if Pat McAfee did what most do, which is cater. If Pat said to Aaron Rodgers, I think your views suck, so I'm going to get rid of you and bring in a gas bag of the, well, what's the right word, liberal persuasion, then everything would be fine. He would have great camaraderie with his teammates. He would have a beautiful show that we all must watch. But McAfee doesn't. You can say anything you want about McAfee's show. But if you're criticizing it, particularly in a publication like The Atlantic, you're criticizing it because, and only because, he has Aaron Rodgers on it, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't toe the company line. That's it. And that's disgusting, isn't it? I mean, look, I get it. You are going to be criticized when you are successful. We all understand that. What do they say? The same people that build you up are right there to tear you down. And right now, McAfee's the number one star in sports media. I don't think it's even close. I mean, Barkley maybe, because we've seen Barkley basically from March through now, but then Barkley goes away until the NBA starts again in earnest in November. Okay, but McAfee is staying. McAfee is daily. McAfee doesn't stop. The cycle keeps going. McAfee takes a little bit of time off. Fine. They show SportsCenter. No biggie. So we see him year-round. Let's see a couple of the screenshots. Do we have a couple of the screenshots of what these guys are saying about Pat McAfee? Here's one. McAfee is an athlete, not a reporter. Great. And when it comes to stuff like accuracy, he's careful to set the bar very low. Oh, whoa. He didn't set the bar. These clown reporters for the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Indy Star, the USA Today, they've never been accurate. And yes, I'm talking about the sports page in those, although I'm not sure the New York Times has one anymore. Gannett, which has the USA Today, meaning the nation's newspaper, hasn't got a story at least about me, the Indiana Pacers, Caitlin Clark, or the Indianapolis Colts correct yet. Now, those are only the stories, myself included, that I know about. I've read such garbage on there about me, it's not even true. In fact, I've had people that don't like me say I read Dan Wolken's column, and that's not true. I was there. No, I know. But that's okay. So don't talk about McAfee setting the bar. He didn't set anything. He's an entertainer. Not a setting the bar of any idiots that went to J school. They set the bar. McAfee actually enhances the bar. He's become the epitome of athlete encroachment on terrain historically controlled by non-athlete journalists. And to put it mildly, the journalists are not happy about it. McAfee couldn't care less. Well, of course not. Name me an actual journalist in sports. I'll hang up and listen, caller. Name me one. I mean, I'll sit here and wait. You think Mike Freeman's a journalist, or you think Mike Freeman is a race-baiting activist? You think Greg Doyle with his creepy, "We're glad you're here, make this sign to me, will you, Caitlin?" You think that's a journalist? Really? You think Nancy Moore is a journalist? None of these people are journalists. They're activists. They're left-leaning activists. That's it. Period. Let's show another one of these screenshots from this ridiculous piece, I guess. McAfee's influence is bigger than his audience. Absolutely. His hours-long show airs during TV's midday dead zone when most sports fans are at work or school. It averages just 332 live views on its linear broadcast, according to the most recent figures from ESPN. And factoring in other platforms like ESPN's YouTube channel, TikTok, the daily audience tops out just under 900,000. A fraction of the eight-figure viewership for Monday Night Football. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, you can bitch, whine, and moan all about that all you want, but that's just a part of McAfee. That's just a little bit of a part of McAfee. McAfee makes people go to ESPN. McAfee makes people turn it on and go, "Hey, what's McAfee talking about?" McAfee, everybody I know has me on the radio and their TV on here in Indianapolis. Stop. I get it. You're trying to besmirch him. You're trying to lessen his impact, but it ain't working. But the numbers belie how much attention, there you go, he gets for the more provocative things that he said on the show, including the dingbat views of the Jets quarterback and anti-vaxxer Aaron Rodgers. Everything's dingbat or stupid. Now, all you got to do is put up a picture of Devin Gordon, and you'll know exactly who he is. You don't even have to know. I looked him up. See if you guys can find a picture. I'll put it up at the end of this, and you'll know exactly. Everybody's a dingbat. Everybody must get vaccinated. Nothing is wrong with the vaccine, even though there's so much lying involved. I'm not even going to get into it because I feel hypocritical because I got the vaccine because I wanted to work. Get a vaccine, work. Don't get a vaccine, don't work. Don't work, don't get paid. Work, get paid. That's simple. I mean, I don't know. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite getting into all the vax or unvax. Airtime equals power. No one at ESPN spends more time on air than Pat McAfee. From the moment he arrived, he has been the network's most influential mouthpiece and indisputably its most polarizing. Oh, bullshit. Now, that's crap. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is the most polarizing, but white guy here is too afraid to say anything about Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. Smith will come back at you. Let's throw the next screenshot of this ridiculous piece up. Actually, it's a great piece. Actually, it's beautiful. No, it really is. I got to go get my glasses for this one. Can we make that? There we go. There we go. Look, here's the deal. Keep it coming. In a stunning moment, the kind of public airing of grievances that ESPN is renowned for not tolerating, many past ESPN talents, such as Jamel Hill, now a writer for the Outlet, really, and Bill Simmons, have been pushed out for far less. No. Now, understand this. Jamel Hill was pushed out because Jamel Hill's show, The Six at 6, was awful. I mean, let's just understand that. Bill Simmons was pushed out because his appearance on the NBA Countdown show was awful. You can say whatever you like. I worked there for 10 years. You have to have a certain amount of talent, or else they will put you away. They will lessen you. And if you have a big money deal at that time, when those two were asked to leave and they were making cuts, they'll just cut you. So understand that. That has nothing to do with what those folks did. They were bad on TV in the slots that they were on. You could have used Simmons differently. You could have used Hill differently, and they would have been okay. But Jamel Hill hosting a 6 o'clock Sports Center was not going to work out because she was bad at her job. Hey, can you pump that up so I'll read the rest here because I can't see that good. I can't see no goods. No suspension, no public rep. Oh, wait a second. And yet McAfee suffered no consequences, no suspension, no public reprimand. 3 months later, Williamson was fired. Well, yeah. You ever think that your political views, this guy Devin Carter, are so whacked out that when the truth is actually said and consequences of the truth actually happen, the guy telling the truth was actually right? I mean, why is the truth, according to liberals, so put under a cloud of disdain? McAfee told the truth. Norby had always been the guy behind the scenes pulling the strings with the media. McAfee called him out. Williamson got fired. That's the truth. But the truth doesn't matter to Devin Gordon and others. And Devin ought to be happy, man. We're pubbing. This is the hottest show in the morning right now. And we're giving him pub like he's never had. All right, make that bigger again so I can see it, please. All right. That's really funny, actually. If any doubt remained about who had the power at ESPN, the suits or the dumb punter, boy, I tell you what, this is an example, dumb punter, of a guy just being jealous. I'm a journalist. You're an athlete, so you're dumb. I know, Pat. I got to tell you, he's a lot of things, but he ain't dumb. Not even a little bit. But I get it. That's your jealousy of a guy who has it all. And your little, I guess, media guy, it vanished with Williamson. McAfee could seemingly get away with anything and then boast about it public. Before Williamson got guillotined, McAfee bristled during his appearance on all the smoke as the notion that he'd gone after one of his bosses. I'm like, I don't get a effing boss. What are we? Like, we talking about Patero? We talking about Iger? Is that who we're talking about? Because those people are people who could technically be described as my boss. That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. But people hate it. The dumb punter, smarter than anybody. The dumb punter, smarter than anybody in the history of broadcast. He brought his own show. Did you know this? McAfee's setup, which is there, I guess, in the Thunderdome, has better equipment than ESPN. In fact, when ESPN came in to do his show, they brought a guy in. And McAfee's dad told me this. He's the head of their equipment. He goes, Dan, our stuff was so much better than theirs. McAfee's a lot of things, folks, but he's not dumb. He's brilliant. He's a freaking genius. I've come to realize, he and I have beefed before. I called him just a punter, and he was smart. He said, Dan, it's just an all-pro punter. He's brilliant. I love the guy. Make that thing bigger again so I can talk more. Anyway, no relationship, though, better crystallizes the growing enmity between McAfee and ESPN's news division than his continued indulgence of his good friend, the New York Jets quarterback, defiant anti-vaxxer, whatever that word is, and for a brief moment, Robert F. Kennedy's rumor running mate, Aaron Rodgers. So what? Let's see if I understand this. So a guy hosting a show, a sports show, whatever you want to call his show, on ESPN, has the biggest star in football, the most talked about man in football, on his show weekly. And this idiot thinks that's a bad thing because the guy has views politically that are different than this idiot. That'd be like a political show getting Donald Trump every week. You imagine the ratings on that? You imagine if one of these shows, you name a show, doesn't matter. NBC, CBS, Fox, doesn't matter. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, doesn't matter. Getting Donald Trump every week. Every week. Or let's go lesser. Getting Barack Obama every week to do an appearance on the show. But right now, the hottest guy would be Donald Trump. The hottest guy in football isn't Patrick Mahomes, although he's the best. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's really funny to me. You know, athletes have fought this for a long time. It was one of the beauties of playing basketball at Indiana. You were never called a dumb jock because Bob Knight, everybody knew, made you go to class. That's always the thing. Every journalist, quote, in Indianapolis has hated me from the get-go because I host the most popular radio show and I don't kiss their ass. It's the way it is. I don't want them on my show. I don't need them on my show, so they write bad things about my show and me. It's timeless. Pat Mack, you keep doing your thing. And clowns like Devin Gordon can keep doing their thing. And Devin, we just got you another 100 readers. God bless you, son. Speaking of the media, you know, I understand that Boston is the cesspool of sports talk media. A guy named Christian Farina called into my show under a fake name when when the Colts were playing the Patriots in the playoffs. He called under a fake name. I quickly sniffed it out and embarrassed him. It got picked up all across the country. This is before the media really hated me. Farina was made to look like a fool. It was my introduction to, okay, what's this Boston media thing really about? It's kind of the second home of sports talk radio. And one of the things that I would say Boston sports talk radio is not only dumb, childish, but frankly, ridiculous. Here's the latest example. I'm not going to say this guy's name right. Usually I look up the pronunciation of people's names, but when I don't respect somebody, I don't get their name right. I don't want to get their name right. They don't deserve for me to get their name right. Fred Toucher or Tooker, I have no idea, is a Boston radio host. And yesterday, Bill Walton died. Was it yesterday or the day before? So this guy offers maybe the worst eulogy, not only of Bill Walton, but anybody else, after a caller asked this jackass to pay tribute with a clip of Tooker once hanging up on him. Here's this guy.
How we doing, guys? Hey, Fred, most important thing you got to do today is you got to, in tribute to Bill Walton, you got to run back the clip many years ago when you hung up on him after the Celtics lost the finals.
Thought about that over the weekend. I'm like, I wonder if that's something. I think we address it, but I don't know that today's the day to play it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, why not? It happened. He called in and he was acting the fool about his son on the Lakers, and they said, first of all, you got to buy a Jeep Wrangler.
I'm looking over these mountains, Majesty. I remember that.
Yeah, but he was like, but while he was selling cars, like, make up your mind, you phony hippie. Like, are you really selling cars, or are you all about peace and love?
That's why I'm not sure if it's the day.
I think, Hardy, you might be onto something. I think today, maybe tomorrow.
I did famously hang up on Bill Walton. I would like to know.
Walton, Patino, and Flory are the grand trio, if I remember right.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. A few days after, I got no problem. But, as I said yesterday, whether you like Bill Walton or you didn't like Bill Walton, there's no mistaking he was larger than life, a great basketball player, and seemingly a pretty good dude, pretty good humanitarian. And when your guy just dies, can't you just be a human being? I mean, I get it. You're in Boston, and you're really stupid. Joey from Worcester. I get it. We all get it. We understand. Okay, it's great. I spent a lot of time in Boston when my stepdaughter was at Harvard, and I saw, Slappy Joe and Joey Bag of Donuts and all the rest of the jackasses. But can't we just at one point, at least for one day, say, you know what, I'm not getting into any crap. Next week we'll play some of our Bill Walton favorites. Next week we'll make fun of Bill Walton and talk about him as he really is, I guess, if that's your thing. But damn. Dude just died. You're in a big market. Be a human being. That's asking too much, but frankly, I don't care. I mean, we got morons left and right everywhere in society. What's the difference? By the way, Steve Cortez is going to join us. You know him, you love him, you want to be him. The Biden campaign held a press conference featuring special guests outside the courthouse where former President Donald Trump is on trial. And one of those guests, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro sporting a N95 mask, like the typical crazy-ass liberal he is. And he went all batshit crazy, De Niro did. Did you know De Niro's like that tall? Like, if you watch Cape Fear, De Niro will scare the hell out of you. Here's De Niro. I got my mask on. Look at this guy. Look how little he is. But I'm telling you, Cape Fear, he was the baddest man on the planet. Anyway, all right, there he goes. Now, let's hear a little bit from Robert De Niro.
Want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life? I hope this new ad campaign reaches outside the bubble to remind supporters of what a danger he is to our lives. This is not a threat. This is a reality. And that's why I've joined the Biden-Harris campaign, because the only way to preserve our freedoms and hold on to our humanity is to vote for Joe Biden for president. Really. We don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice? Oh, okay. Because Robert De Niro, guy who acts like other people, says we don't have a choice. We got a big-time choice. You know, they never really talk about what Trump did or didn't do as he was the president. It's like you walk into a room, hey, liberals, come here, we got a meeting. Like every town has a meeting. You go to the Holiday Inn, you know, like you did for XL Communication phone service pyramid scheme. Hey, look, we're going to give you the talking points. We can't talk about the economy. We can't talk about gas prices. We can't talk about war. We can't talk about the border. We can't talk about those things. We just got to bring out the fact that our humanity, our liberty, our democracy will be gone if we elect Donald Trump. That's what we got to talk about. You never hear him talk about, I don't know, did our democracy leave in the 4 years before? Did it? I felt pretty democratic. Actually, I felt pretty good. I got to ask the question, did it go away? Did our liberty go away? Did our world crumble? The guy's already been president. This is my thing. I have a tendency to think logically. So I'm listening to De Niro say all these things, and I'm saying to myself, wait a second. This isn't like some candidate we don't know about. Is it? Wasn't he president for 4 years? Wasn't the economy booming? Wasn't the border closed? Weren't nations terrified of us? Did liberty go away? Why? Because a bunch of idiots decided to be let into the Capitol on January 6th? That means our liberty went away? All right, after he specifically asked, demanded, begged, plead, don't do that? I must have missed something here because it feels like he was the president already and we survived. In fact, we thrived. I would ask Robert De Niro, okay, what don't you like about the Donald Trump presidency? And let's just, for the sake of argument, take out January 6th, because you're going to blame that on him. What didn't you like? What made your life worse? And that would be an interesting conversation, but nothing about these people is interesting. It's honest to God, they spew the same dumb-ass lines. Do they think we don't know? Do they think we don't understand that Donald Trump has already served 4 years in the It's amazing. And kudos to the guy that was honking his horn. Kudos to the guy or girl, to the patriot that was honking their horn. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty good. I ain't mad at that. Yeah, that was all right. Yeah, that was really good. I think we have one more. Trump or De Niro was talking about decency and ended up doing this.
Democrat, you are gangsters. You are gangsters. You're washed up.
You're a little punk. You're a softy. You're a nobody. Your movies suck. You're trash. You're trash. You're done. You're done after this first time. You're done.
That's the kind of politics I'm digging. A 5'2", 90-year-old man telling people to go F themselves. See, sometimes I think actors and actresses think that they're real. They're not. I'll tell you this, though. If he was the dude in Cape Fear, I wouldn't say nothing to him. But he's not. He's just an old man, for whatever the reason, probably got paid 30, 40 grand to come out of his cave, put on a little Old Spice, take a Depends, whip it on there, put some pants on, and away you go. Wait a second. That's me every day. Hold on. Never mind. I digress. But anyway, much ado about nothing. And then he got absolutely crushed. The New York Post and other people just made fun of him. And that's what you got to do here. Just make fun of him and then go vote and make damn sure, Republicans, that you protect the ballots. Don't let any door lock without you in it on election night. Election night's going to be fun around here. It is. Last time Trump won, kids at Harvard got eggs thrown at him. Yeah, that's right. Trump supporters got eggs thrown at him. It's pretty funny. This year, I'm predicting this. This year, if we see more shenanigans at the ballot box, like something that's statistically impossible, the votes that Biden got last year during the time with which he got them, you might see a civil war break out. You might see, I don't know, man. I'm reading the tea leaves here, and I'm like, people aren't going to stand for more bullshit from the Democrats at the voting booth. It's going to be fascinating. Let's talk a little Deportes here. General manager of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane, spoke to the media about why he got rid of Stefon Diggs. He explained the team made the decision to move on from the talented yet diva and headache-influenced wide receiver. I don't need to go through all of the reasons, but he did. He went through enough. A player of his caliber, you weigh a lot of things in these situations, but ultimately, we just talked about the cap, liar. I don't need to go through all the reasons why we decided to go ahead and do that. I would say from a cap standpoint, we decided to just go ahead and eat it now. We think we can compete and do what we need to do by eating it now and not next year, because if we didn't, if we tried to come up with some ways to split it up too many different ways, then now it's just like that albatross hanging on our neck all year. Well, let's go through some incidents with what my man Diggs has been about as a wide receiver. You know, here's a few. Sometimes you just get tired of the guy. Sometimes you're like, look, you don't see what we see on a daily basis in the football building. And Stefon Diggs got himself, well, he forced his way out of Minneapolis after complaining about a lack of targets. They said, get the hell out. Complained all last season about the lack of targets with the Bills. And eventually, because that complaining that you see publicly, that complaining is magnified tenfold privately. You see this. It's really that. You know, the old adage, a duck, you see a duck on the water and he's going and underneath he's paddling like hell. That's what you deal with. The underneath is every day in the building what you got to deal with, and you just get exhausted. You're like, I'm tired of this. I've had enough of this. Get the hell out of here and give us a chance to win without your sorry ass. And I got to tell you, I'm rooting for the Bills. Multiple sideline blow-ups throughout the seasons, getting heated in the face of Josh Allen. Sent out cryptic tweets throughout the season, hinting at his unhappiness. Is there a bigger D-bag thing than that? Look, you're unhappy, walk like a man, but we don't walk like men anymore. He liked tweets about the Bills, should trade him to the Cowboys, etc. It's silly, but it's way we judge people's happiness now. Oh, my God, he deleted his team's Instagram. Let me ask you a question. By the way, who's in charge of watching all these clowns? Jeez, they would give me a headache. He treated the team media personnel poorly, even prompting hot mic comments from a female reporter that gained national attention when she bashed his behavior when dealing with the media. Well, that I give him an A+ on. I mean, that I give him a gold star. If a female writer or male whatever, they didn't like, good. Just don't diss anybody at OutKick. We'll throw hands. You'll get these hands if you diss anybody in our operation, pal. And you don't want these hands. Oh, man. Adios. And the building went, all right. Now you look around, and in a football or basketball team building, in the locker room, in the clubhouse, in baseball, you look around and think, all right, who's going to be the next jackass? If we could only get rid of him. If we could get rid of him, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. Hey, Rand Carthon is the general manager. We're staying with a theme here, media and then general managers. Rand Carthon's a new general manager. Well, he's been there a year, of the Tennessee Titans. He went on Barstool, the podcast, Bussin' with the Boys, which includes former Titan Taylor Lewan. He addressed Mike Vrabel and why Mike Vrabel had to go. Sounds like the firing came from ownership and was handed down to the GM. I would argue that most firings of that nature are from ownership. When Ryan Grigson came into the Colts, they had to get rid of Peyton Manning, or so they thought. Well, Grigson wasn't going to do that. That fell on Jimmy Irsay. If Jimmy Irsay wanted to keep Manning, Manning was staying. Jimmy Irsay wanted to let Manning go, Manning was going. Same thing with Tony Dunn, or a coach. That ain't from a general manager. Ownership's got to sign off on that. Here's Carthon. The day was really rough. I speak personally when it happened. I called my wife. First thing my wife said was, you need to call Rhea, which was my daughter. And I'm like, why? Well, because she doesn't need to hear that coach got fired from one of the kids in school. My kids don't have social media. My daughter had a really close relationship with Mike. Not only to have that happen to him, but have to communicate this to my daughter. And now my 7-year-old son, who thinks he's the GM, he's the coach, he's the owner, he says to me, what are you doing? It was really tough. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. And, it's one of those deals that is going to affect Carthon's job either positively or negatively. When you come in and you make a decision of that magnitude, it reflects on you. Make no mistake. And it doesn't reflect poorly if he does well, but it reflects fireable if he does poorly. If he does well, I guess my point isn't it doesn't reflect poorly. That's kind of stupid. You don't get all the glory if it works well. Let's put it that way. Yeah, you get some accolades, but boy, the difference between it working well and what attention you received and it working poorly and what attention you receive, woo, it's the difference between keeping your job and losing your job. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm going to make an announcement here. The long national nightmare is over. Yes, it's over. Angel Hernandez, the oft-blind umpire, an umpire that has literally every team speaking ill of him. Like, he wasn't even good enough as an umpire to favor a team. He was just bad. I was at the famous game in Wrigley Field in 2001 when Mongo, a.k.a. Steve McMichael, the crazy interior lineman for the Chicago Bears, was singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." And he finished it with, "And I'm going to have some speaks with that umpire." That umpire was Angel Hernandez. Angel Hernandez went right to the screen, pointed at McMichael, and kicked him out. He did. It was freaking awesome. No, it was incredible. And we're like, wait a second. Who's this umpire? Found out, Angel Hernandez. First time I'd ever heard of him. I'm like, wow. He threw out Mongo in Wrigley, in Chicago, during the 7th inning. I kind of liked Angel Hernandez. I'm like, that's got some of these. You know what I mean? Some of these. Well, turns out my liking Angel Hernandez, not so good. The woods is full of bad calls. Angel Hernandez, well, probably got fired for just being bad, but probably more so fired for filing a lawsuit against Major League Baseball alleging racial discrimination for not putting him in the majors and in the playoffs. The lawsuit was dismissed by the U.S. District Court in 2021, granting MLB a summary judgment. The Second Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals upheld the decision last year. Hernandez has failed to establish a statistically significant disparity between the promotion rates of white and minority umpires, the appeals court said in an 11-page decision. MLB has provided persuasive expert evidence demonstrating that during the years at issue, the difference in crew chief promotion rates between white and minority umpires was not statistically significant. Hernandez offers no explanation as to why MLB statistical evidence is unreliable. There you go. This is C.C. Sabathia, former Yankees pitcher, talking about Angel Hernandez. Here we go.
I do need to say this, though. I don't think Angel Hernandez should be umping playoff games. He's absolutely terrible. He's terrible behind the plate today. He's terrible at first base. It's amazing that how he's getting a job to pitching, to play in these, to umpire in these playoff games.
What did you say to him in the first inning?
It's just a conversation for us, but he shouldn't be anywhere near a playoff game.
Is that sentiment shared by many of your teammates?
Everybody, I think.
Everybody.
I think if you go ask them on the other side too.
CC, was this strike zone tonight?
It's always.
Yeah.
It's always. He's bad. I don't understand why he's doing these games.
Well, maybe the lawsuit explained why he was doing those games, because he's a minority. That's the only thing you can figure. I mean, seriously, you see by this lawsuit and what I just read that it's very important for Major League Baseball to, quote, statistically make sure there's a balance between minority and majority umpires. White dudes against, relative to African Americans, Hispanic, Asian, that kind of thing. So you think that's important, right? Well, his name is Hernandez, for Christ's sake. What do you think? That's why. And you know what's interesting about that? This wasn't CC Sabathia after he was playing. This was CC Sabathia at his locker during his playing career, talking by name at length about an umpire. And I think CC Sabathia was in New York at the time, which, I don't know if you know this, is the biggest media market in the world, or at least in our world. Now, how unique is that? Like, that would be like, I don't know, Ohtani at his locker talking about C.B. Buckner, who, by the way, you know, it used to be, and we don't hear it so much anymore, best golfer not to win a major, right? It became worst umpire in the major leagues. It was always Hernandez, C.B. Buckner right here. Well, Hernandez gone. You're up next, C.B. Buckner. I would suggest, just a suggestion to C.B. Buckner, don't sue Major League Baseball if you want to keep your job. If you think you're on your way out and you're not going to have a job anyway, sue the living ass off them. But I wouldn't sue them if you think you're going to keep your job because your union's pretty strong, because you, C.B. Buckner, are next man up as worst umpire / why does this clown have a job in the big leagues?